Had the second rankings last night coming out, and after a week of chaos, Georgia is the new #1 team in the country, followed by Ohio State, then Michigan, then undefeated TCU takes the 4th spot. Tennessee falls from 1 to being 5, so they're the first team out as we speak. Alabama and Clemson in that rare spot at the back of the top 10, currently at 9 and 10. And so we bring back Heather and Paul here, Heather Dinich, Paul Finebaum. So Heather, I always ask you to put things in HD for us, if you will. What's the #1 for the fans just joining us? The #1 signal that you received from the committee with what they gave us last night?
Tennessee still has a chance to finish in the final top 4 on Selection Day, and that's because they love their resume. Tennessee went on the road and beat LSU soundly, 40-13 in Baton Rouge. They have the win against Alabama. They should not lose again, Greeny. Plus, you have the fact that somebody above them is going to lose because Ohio State and Michigan play each other. So the ideal scenario would be for Georgia to win the East. You've got the Big Ten winner, and then Tennessee's got a shot at this thing.
So they feel to you like the likeliest team that's outside the 4 to move in. If you look at all the teams that are outside the top 4 right now, would you classify Tennessee as the likeliest to get in?
Well, I would say they're right there with Oregon. That could be a great debate because both of those teams lost to Georgia. And one thing Selection Committee Chair Boo Corrigan said last night that's very important is that the season opening loss to Georgia for Oregon is not a deal breaker. Both of those teams got beaten soundly, Tennessee and Oregon.
And you want to send a message. I think I heard Reese say, one of the guys said this last night, might have been Herbie, that said, you know, you don't want to discourage these teams from scheduling games like that at the beginning. If you're going to punish them for losing that game at the beginning, then they won't play Georgia. I think they said Portland State, or, you know, used an example of that last night. How about it, Paul? What's the #1 message you took from last night?
Clemson is kaput. Greeny, they have been a mainstay at the playoffs. They missed last year. They missed the first year. But other than that, they've pretty much been in the championship game against Alabama. Remember, we were all bored with Clemson and Alabama end this. Well, it's over. Alabama has a slim path. Clemson has no path. And what's really interesting is the ACC commissioner earlier this year voted against a 12-team expansion. I know that has been rescinded, but the ACC is in real trouble right now from a national standpoint, and Clemson was their standard bearer.
So, look, you got Clemson, you got Alabama. We made the point earlier. There has never been a year since the college football playoff was created that we had neither one of those two teams in, and it appears we're going to have that. But that could be a one-year blip, or it could be the end of an era. Paul, which is it? Are we at the end now of the, like, those two programs in that order, Alabama and Clemson, have dominated the last decade of college football? Is that over?
Well, Clemson always has a better path in Alabama because they play in the ACC, where they really have not had many challenges. Notre Dame is the Achilles heel, and they're not even in the ACC, although they play a 5-game ACC schedule. I think Alabama can come back. They have the #1 recruiting class in the country coming in a couple of months. But the issue, I think, Greeny, is more big picture. Is this dynasty window narrowing, as we've been talking about for a couple of days? It seems like it is. It seems like it's shifting over from Alabama to Georgia.
What do you think, Heather? What you see the question on the screen? Is this a changing of the guard in college football? What do you think?
Well, I think it certainly is, because when you look at Alabama and you look at what they're going to have coming in, he's talking about Georgia. Texas and Oklahoma are going to join this league. Sark is doing a great job at Texas, as inconsistent as they have been. But I do think that Clemson and Alabama continue to obviously recruit at an elite level. That's not going to change. It's the winning at the elite level that I think will change consistently.
Someone, I think, needs to say these things out loud, that Alabama is 2 plays away from being unbeaten, right? I mean, they literally are 2 plays away, both of them on the road against teams that are right now in the top, where is LSU, 7? I mean, against 2 of the top 7 teams in the country on the road. They're 2 plays away from being unbeaten. Paul, why are you shaking your finger at me?
Well, but Greeny, that's excellent. They are 2 plays away from being unbeaten. They're also 2 plays away from having 4 losses.
Well, so you see, glass half full, glass half empty. That's how it depends on how you look at life. Okay, so here's the question that is going to make everybody on Paul's radio show later mad. I asked each of you to choose. If you had to pick the program that is going to win the most championships in the next decade, the previous decade has belonged to Saban. Which program is going to win the most titles the next 10 years? Heather.
I'm going to go with USC because they're going to the Big Ten. I think they can dominate that conference. Lincoln Riley's done a great job already. I would say he's ahead of schedule. No problem recruiting there. Keep your quarterbacks in the Pac-12, or the Big Ten, rather, and not the SEC. And I think this is a team that can go on and win national titles for the Big Ten.
An intriguing pick. Paul, how about you?
Very intriguing, but I'm going with the obvious one, and that is Georgia. Kirby Smart is the new Alabama in Athens. I mean, it looks like Alabama, and they play like Alabama of old, and I think they are built for success. Yeah, the SEC will get tougher with 2 new teams, but I don't think anyone is going to knock Kirby Smart off at the top over this next 10 years.
I think those are both intriguing picks, but now let me tell you the right one. And that is upon consultation with the little committee that I put together, which consists of Booger McFarland, Ryan Clark, and Marcus Spears. The answer is LSU. The answer is Brian Kelly. And you touched on it earlier, Paul, that Brian Kelly left Notre Dame because he took them as far as you can realistically take them in the way college football is currently constituted. He doesn't have to get onto a plane to recruit at LSU. Just he can get into a car and he can put together teams that are good enough. He will have them now. I think Kelly is about to do, he's going to prove to everyone what he is, which is an elite coach, and never got the credit for it. Paul.
Greeny, never trust 3 guys from LSU. That was such a terrible, awful pick.
Okay, we'll see. We'll see. One way or another, it's going to be very interesting. As this is the studio working on this, we're going to talk about the Bills and the necessity of home field advantage. So here's the question. Who's the last quarterback to go to Buffalo and beat them in a road playoff game?
Greeny, I can't remember a quarterback doing that in the Super Bowl era. I'm going to go Neil O'Donnell in the late 90s, but I think that game was actually in Pittsburgh, so I'm pretty sure I'm wrong.
You're thinking the right era, but it's not the right quarterback. The answer is Mark Brunell in 1996. Remember?
Wow.
Was he? It was still Jacksonville then, right? Was he still a Jaguar? The Jacksonville Jaguars had some good years, some good runs, and so scored that one for Hembo. See, that's a tough question.
That's a tough question. Yeah, exactly.
When the answer is, you know what it is? Hembo's a very small man, so he tries to create
the level of petty is just ridiculous.
It's petty.
Yeah.
That question actually reeked of pettiness. Is what I said.
Yeah.
So I don't even count it. For the record,
I mean, he should give me some of the lollipops that he gives Rex Ryan every
That's
Monday.
exactly
I don't understand
right.
why I don't get those questions.
I completely agree.
He gives me those daily double Jeopardy trivia questions. I don't know what he's doing.
That's exactly right. All right. And now that the piling on Hembo portion of the program is over, let's talk about those Bills and a developing story. Josh Allen's got an elbow. The evaluation continues to his ulnar collateral ligament and related nerves. All this, the reporting of our Chris Mortensen. Allen's status uncertain for the team's game against the Vikings on Sunday. The coach, Sean McDermott, said on Monday, we're just going through it, still evaluating it. We'll see where it goes. The Bills have been the front runners in the AFC all year. But according to our analytics, that is no longer the case. The Chiefs are now a slight favorite to make it to the Super Bowl. Obviously, both the teams have the same record, Buffalo and KC. The Bills actually have the tiebreaker because they won head-to-head. But again, it's an intriguing game this week, Buffalo, Minnesota. Kmart, it is your game. Yep. So obviously, you're talking to everybody already. What do we know about the elbow?
So here's what we know. The fact that Josh Allen will do everything he can to play. But it is Wednesday, and the team still has yet to say, oh, we know Josh Allen is definitely playing on Sunday. That gives you pause. Yesterday, he was in the facility for treatment, as you know, all injured players. But the Bills are keeping this very close to the vest. They obviously don't want to tip their hand to the Vikings. The surging Vikings, who are 7-1, who have Zadarius Smith, who's tied for second in the NFL, 8.5 sacks. But this could, I think this could very well go in the direction of the Bills even wait until Sunday morning, like game time decision. I think Sean McDermott's going to talk later and not give us a whole lot. And that to me is alarming because on Monday, if he were completely fine, they would have said Josh is good to go.
Well, I don't think there's any question he isn't completely fine. I know that it's a double negative, but the one thing everyone I've talked to has said is it's not nothing. Right. So the question is, what exactly is it, and what does it mean? What is at stake for the Bills here in these next few weeks?
Well, a home field advantage is at stake, and even, frankly, their playoff seeding, how many home playoff games, like all of this matters a lot, but none of it matters more than a healthy Josh Allen. And this decision, it's not as clear-cut as you play him now and you get a number 1 seed, but a slightly hampered Josh Allen, or you don't play him now and you have to go on the road and win 3 playoff games with a 100% Josh Allen. It's not that easy a decision, but if it were, give me Josh Allen at his best. We saw last year in Kansas City that he is capable of doing amazing things no matter where you put him. So they should protect him, and they have a legitimate backup quarterback in Case Keenum that they should have confidence in. This is why you get a guy like that.
For the record, going back to the trivia question that we just had with Canty, the Bills, with Josh Allen as their quarterback, are 3-0 in the playoffs at home, and they've won those 3 games by a combined 47 points. That's more than 15 points per game. So they've been dominant at home. How important is it in your mind to the Bills? Is it do or die that they have that home field advantage when we get to the AFC playoffs?
Yeah, I think it's important. And you left out the other side of that. They're great at home in the playoffs, but Josh Allen is 0 on the road in the playoffs. I get that last year seems like an outlier and aberration, but that AFC Championship game a couple of years ago in Kansas City wasn't.
Right.
Neither was the game where you had a double-digit lead against the Houston Texans. That didn't work out for you either. So Josh Allen being at home and being able to have the advantage of a quarterback that can push the ball down the field in the elements when he's fully healthy, I think that matters. The one thing that we have to look for with this team in the next coming weeks is just how healthy is he and how comfortable is Ken Dorsey dialing up those design quarterback runs in gotta-have-it situations in short yardage in the red zone. I think all of those things matter.
Design quarterback runs are safe when you're Josh Allen, so I'm fine with that. But I think
how healthy is he? What if he gets hit in the elbow? That's what I'm saying.
Fucking run, bro.
It appears quite clear to me that what is more dangerous is sending him back in the pocket to stand up there and let people hit him. But the point that you guys made about
I hate it when you say that.
I know, but the point that you guys made about the home field, like the outscoring people a lot is like skewed by the fact that they just crushed the Patriots last year, and their record on the road in the playoffs is bad because they had to go on the road in the playoffs because they were not as good of a team. This is a different team. This team may have to go on the road in the playoffs because Josh got hurt in the middle of the season, not because they're not good enough. So I think they are.
Can I say this, though? This is a team that's dealing with a lot of injuries on the defensive side of the ball. They can't run the ball. They can't stop the run. How good can they be is a significant question. And all of a sudden, since the bye week, your quarterback is turning the ball over. Like it's buy one, get one free. He's had multiple turnovers in the last 2 games.
That's why the next few days are critical, because it's not just about beating the Vikings. Like, you need Josh Allen to be able to do Josh Allen things for the rest of the season and the playoffs and hopefully the Super Bowl.
Well, I mean, that is something that, let's see what happens this weekend, and the injury will obscure all of it, but there have been some cracks in this Bills team that we thought was just sort of a locomotive. Let's see what one